folks, hold the front page. I'm back with another guitar lesson. This time it's for a Cheap Trick song called Big Eyes from their second album, In Colour. I love Cheap Trick, such a great power pop band. Killer tunes, killer look, killer baseball caps, everything. Killer guitar collection as well. And a good looking lead singer, a 12-string bass player, and a drummer that used to smoke all the time. This is in standard tuning. Just how we like it, standard tuning. So the song starts with this riff, which when played on its own sounds a bit strange, but this is how Rick plays it. So it starts with the 2nd fret of the E string and the 1st fret of the A string and the D string open, and you play down those 3 notes. Now that does sound a bit dissonant, but when it's taken in the context of the tune, it is what he plays. So the next chord is you move your 2 fingers over to the 2nd fret of the A string and the 1st fret of the D string, and you're hitting the G open this time, and again you just go down those 3 notes. So I'll play those 2 parts together. And then the 3rd chord is the E, which is the 2nd fret of the D string, moving up to the 4th fret of the D string, so that's an F sharp. And this time you're only fingering the 1 note and you're playing the G and B strings open. So play all those parts together slowly. And a bit faster this time. And that's the intro. And then it goes into an octave part on a D down to the B. So the octave notes are the 5th fret of the A string and the 7th fret of the G string, down to the 2nd fret on the same strings. So you're dampening the D string and you're just hitting these notes. So it's dampened. And at the end of that measure it plays. So that's the 1st fret of the A string, hammer on to the 2nd fret of the A string, back to the 1st fret of the A string, to the opened A string, to a G, the 3rd fret of the E string, to an open E. So play those 2 parts together. And then the verse starts with a G chord and a C chord, and that's all the way through the verse. Now on the studio version, either Rick or Robin is playing just a strict 12 bar. So that's just the 3rd fret of the E string and the 5th fret of the A string for the G chord, and you put your pinky down on the 7th fret of the A string. And you're dampening with your palm as well, palm muting there. And the C, you're just moving all those notes across the strings, so it's the 3rd fret of the A string, the 5th fret of the D string, and the 7th fret of the D string. Now when you watch the guys playing live, I think Rick, as well as running around throwing out a bazillion picks, he's just playing just the bar chords. Because it's very difficult to run about and play 12 bar as well as throwing every single pick in the world out to the audience. And after it does that, it goes back to the octave part. And then it's back to the G and the C again. And then the octave. And as soon as you hit that bottom E, you then go to the second fret of the D string to play that E note. And then it's a pull off from that down to the first fret of the D string, hammer back onto the second fret, and then it's the second fret of the A string to the third fret of the A string to the second fret of the A string to the A string open. So play those two parts. And then you play the second fret of the E string to the third fret of the E string to the second fret of the A string to the third fret of the A string. Now this all sounds a bit funny timing, but it does work in with the tune. So play up to where we are just now in that bit. So it plays that once, and then the next measure starts the same, down to the open A, but this time you play the second fret of the A string and the first fret of the D string and the G string open. So it's like the second chord that you played in the intro. So I'll play that part. And then you go back to the first measure again. And then for the fourth one, you play this. So at the end of the fourth measure, you go back to play the very first two chords that you played in the intro of the song. So play that whole bridge part again for you. And then it's straight back into another verse, the G and the C. And then the guitar stops and the bass plays through half a verse on its own. And at the end of that verse, the octave notes come in again. Now as soon as you play the second one, you go straight back into the four chords that you played at the beginning. play it from the octave and then play those 4 chords. And then it's the octaves again. Now, as you're getting near the end of the tune, it plays the octave chords, and then this part increases by 1 measure each time. So the first one, and second one, and third one go like this. And then as it finishes like this. To the E major chord, and then there's a tom roll, and the song finishes at the very end. Finishes sharp on the E chord again. So it's just that part where you're playing from the first fret of the A string to the second fret, back down to the open A, to the G, to the E. And that's the whole tune. Killer tune, killer pop song. Robin singing, as ever, in every Cheap Trick song. He's just such a good singer. You know, I've seen the band, I think the last time I saw them was about 4 or 5 months ago, and they were still on as good form as when I first saw them supporting Motley Crue on the Theatre of Pain tour in February 1986 at the Edinburgh Playhouse, which I actually recorded. I recorded both bands that night. I still have the bootleg lying about somewhere. So thank you once again for tuning in, folks, for this Cheap Trick guitar lesson played on Ace Frehley's guitar. It's not actually Ace Frehley's guitar, it's a 1981 Greco EG 600 PR made in Japan guitar, a very well made in Japan guitar by Fujigen. This is a lovely instrument, 3 humbuckers, which is 1 more, so it's 1 louder than 2 humbuckers. So thank you once again, folks. Cheers for now.